Spoilers for the Stormlight Archive. This is a word of Brandon that gets into the conversation that Locke and Carl was reading a book and I were having, and a few others joined in yesterday about Raysium and hemalurgy. So as a quick recap, Raysium is the god metal that is formed by Odium, name potentially to be changed in the future, and in the Stormlight Archive, we have seen that the Fused are using Raysium as a way to suck out investiture. So if you stab a Radiant with Raysium blade, then the investiture is going to be sucked out of that infused Radiant into a sphere or a crystal. It was what was used at the end of Oathbringer to suck out the cognitive shadow Jezrien from the body, the physical being that he was in, such that he was able to die a final death. And so we have this question: have we seen any evidence of hemalurgy on Roshar? And as sort of an addendum, given the end of Oathbringer, was what happened to Jezrien hemalurgy? Sanderson: there are certain Cosmere philosophers that would count it. I would divide it as two separate things that are using similar fundamentals. I wouldn't call it myself, but there are people who would disagree with me in-world. As an aside, I absolutely love when he references how scholars in his own universe would disagree with him about how to define and categorize the magic system. One of my favorite parts of A Words of Brandon. But he says that would not count as hemalurgy, but there have been examples or evidence in world that would be hard to pick out, but it's there. Yes, there are people with hemalurgy who have been to Roshar. I'm pretty sure they've been on screen. At a recent Dragonsteel spoiler Q&A, he did acknowledge that Hoid has like a whole kit of hemalurgic spikes. Just a bunch of options, but is not necessarily spiked at any one particular moment. So to recap, Raysium is not necessarily being used there as hemalurgy, though some people in-universe would count it. I think the reason he says that is because if we think about hemalurgy, let me jump to my the idea is that you are pulling something out of a being. It doesn't have to be invested. You can steal physical attributes, mental attributes, or investiture magic attributes. And Raysium does suck out something from the individual. But I think the key is that with hemalurgy, you are investing the actual object that you stab the person with. So if we think back to spoilers for Mistborn, if we think back to Vin's earring, you stabbed the child, the earring becomes invested, so it's not like the earring is being used to invest something else. With a Raysium dagger, we're using the dagger to infuse a sphere, or to infuse something else. The big thing that Raboniel and Navani added was putting anti-void light or anti-storm light or anti-whatever light, honestly, into that crystal before you stab a spren or a cognitive shadow, and then a spren or cognitive shadow made out of the relevant type of investiture would be destroyed permanently once it was sucked through the Raysium dagger into the sphere and then made contact with that anti-light. It would then just be nullified. So, hemalurgy through Raysium, absolutely possible, but not the way that the Fused and Odium's forces have been using it up to this point. This has been your Why'd You Say It Like That, Brandon?